Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
So welcome back to the Real Estate Pros podcast. I'm Kristen Knapp, and I'm here with Houston real estate investor Justin Davis. Thank you for coming here today, Justin. Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, I'm excited to get into your business and what you've built. It sounds really inspiring, and it seems like you're doing a lot over there. So let's just start with how you got into real estate investing.
Well, it's kind of an interesting story. It wasn't strategic. I didn't plan it. I was getting a covered patio built in my house in 2019, and the contractor that was doing it suggested that I started flipping houses. And obviously I knew what it was. I'd watched HGTV, hours and hours, but I didn't know it was something I could actually do. And he took me around to several projects that he was working on for other investors. And I was like looking online at like how the house used to be, and I'm in the house, and it was it. It was like a drug. It was like meeting your first love for the first time. I never stopped thinking about it after that moment. And then within 2 weeks, a house became available in our neighborhood that was distressed, that was flippable. And then a friend of mine set me up with a lender, and a hard money lender, and I was able to buy that house. And I bought that house May 29th, 2019, and I sold it October 1st, 2019. So I had it for 4 months, and I made $46,000. And at that time, that was like $1 million to me. But also it was the first dollar I ever made that wasn't from a paycheck. So it just really opened my eyes. Obviously I still had a job, but I started thinking about my job very differently during that time. And that's how I got into it. And once I got into it, I've never gotten out of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And when did you make the transition to do it more full time?
I guess I got my last paycheck in 2021. But I was really doing it full time in 2020. You may recall that there was this thing called the pandemic.
Oh, I heard about it. Yeah.
So I had a sales job, and my sales were face to face, so they just didn't happen. I was a executive business development person, so no one was working in their office. There was no sporting events. There was no restaurants open. All the things that I had to do to entertain weren't happening. So I didn't really have any day-to-day job activities, and my company kept us on. So I was just really doing a lot of flipping and learning and growing and making a bunch of mistakes. But in 2021, that was when I became like really established.
That's awesome. In terms of like the mistakes you made that helped you really learn, what are some that come to mind?
Oh, wow. We could talk about that for about 25 hours, but mainly just, how do you start a house? What's the first step? How do you design it? What's an ideal layout? What design choices are going to get the greatest reaction from a buyer? What is good paint quality? What is good sheetrock quality? You have to, either you have a mentor or a guide to help you avoid these things, or when you do it on your own, you just learn by doing. And you realize, okay, that's not right. This person isn't right. This process wasn't right. This choice wasn't right. And there's just too many to count and highlight, but there's a bunch.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
in this business, you keep learning and learning and learning. And I feel,
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
confident where I am, but I still, with that understanding, I still accept that there's still so much more to learn.
of course, and it sounds like you're doing so much, probably more than the average person, from, sourcing the deals to actually selling them yourself. Can you tell us about everything you're doing?
Yeah, so people often will ask me to go to lunch, and I'm happy to join them, and they want to know how I do what I do and how I got into it and how they can do it. And I've kind of distilled it down to 5 different competencies. I think the first is sourcing, right? So how do you find these deals? How do you find significantly undervalued properties that you can add value to and then sell and make money? Because with residential real estate, it's not about what you invest, it's about what the property is worth based on the comparable properties. So sourcing is the first one. I do that. The second one is funding. Okay. You know, these properties cost me, between $1 million to $2 million. Okay. How do I get that money? Okay. So that's another thing that you have to learn. The next thing is design. Okay. If you're either renovating a property or building from scratch, okay, you're buying this piece of property. What is it going to be? If it's a new house, what's it going to look like? How big is it going to be? What are the 1,000 choices you have to make? How tall are the ceilings? What kind of windows? What color windows? What size windows? Where are the doors? What kind of cabinets? What kind of counters? What kind of flooring? What kind of tile? There's so many choices. So sourcing, funding, designing, and then there's executing. Okay, so once you have all that down, okay, who do I call? Who does foundations? Who does underground plumbing? Who does framing? Who does brick? Who does windows? Who does roofs? Who does all these things? And when do you do all those things? So that's another competency. And then the last is ultimately selling it, right? So how do you put your property in the best light? From photography to the price point to online marketing if necessary, to open houses, to staging the property, all these things. So all those things I do completely. And for like staging, I own all my own furniture. So if you look at my property listings, they all have the same furniture because it's, the furniture that I own. So that's kind of a summary of all the things that I do related to my business.
That's so fascinating. I think it's interesting, like going into an industry where you may not feel super comfortable or you don't know as much, you just assume you have to do everything yourself, but then it makes you so much better off because you understand every facet of the business that a lot of people can't say that. A lot of people can't say that they're directly involved in every single stage of the business.
For sure. I think there's value there. And I can think back to my corporate jobs where I only had one competency because the companies were so large and I really had a lot of gaps, but you can never go back
Yeah.
and learn things that, are before you or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, there's value in that. And I imagine over time, maybe I'll delegate some things, but at this point, I'm very content doing everything.
Yeah. Awesome. And is there a part of it that like really lights you up? Like it seemed like design is really part of your forte.
Design and transformation. It literally is the biggest rush. Like when I go to a house in the morning at 8 a.m. and meet a guy, and then I go at 5 o'clock and like something is transformed,
Mhm.
I can't explain it. Like it's like a hit. Like you go there and there's no framing, then you go back and like the walls are up, or you go out and there's no tile, then it's all tiled. You go back, there's no cabinets, and there's a bunch of cabinets. There's no countertops. I mean, it's just, and it happens so fast. I mean, it's just, yeah, I haven't yet gotten tired of that, of the transformation.
What's one of the best transformations you've seen?
Probably my first new construction. I bought, a very distressed, dilapidated home in a very questionable neighborhood.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
But on paper, it showed that houses were being sold for, crazy prices in the neighborhood. So I bought this house on this really dumpy street. The house was very dumpy. Obviously, I completely demolished it. And then I built this super high-end luxury home. And the first person I showed it to offered full price and bought it. And that was two physicians. So I just really loved all the things that I was able to figure out with that house, because when you go up in price point, you're not just making a bigger $500,000 house. You're actually adding different dimensions, different features, different finishes. So I didn't know if I could do it, but I was grateful that I was. And that was probably one of the biggest transformations that I could think of.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've recently not transferred, but you've added on new constructions into your business rather than just,
Correct.
fix and flip. How has that been? What has that process been like, and how are you enjoying it? Because I
Yeah, it's
imagine
been a
it's a
game.
very different process.
It's been a game changer. It's funny. Many people spoke it into me. I had friends in the past say, "You're going to do new construction down the road," and I was like, "Yeah, whatever." I just rejected it. I was like, I don't think so. One guy named Conrad jumps out to me, and he was right. It's just a totally different game that you're playing, and then you have this masterpiece that's just sitting on the ground, for as long as we're alive, that you can drive by and see that you did. Um, so it's just a different thing. But yeah, it's really
I
cool.
can
But I
see
just
how.
started last year.
Yeah, that's incredible. I can see how that can be so fulfilling, just really starting something from scratch, especially someone like you who's a jack of many trades. I mean, putting that into your own construction must be very fulfilling.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And then, so in terms of design, since you're so skilled at it, like you spoke before kind of about like what layouts work best, or what, all of these different things. What are for, someone who's looking to fix a home or even just buy a home, like what are you seeing that are, the best resale on like layouts and all of that?
For sure. Yeah, so I think you don't like a lot of people say, what do you save money on? Or you talk to people that are doing products like, well, I wanted to skimp on this. Well, my experience is the more you invest, the more you get.
Right.
Because I think people buy homes, it's an emotional decision, right? They use logic to justify it, but it's an emotional thing that makes them want the house. So I want them to connect to the house emotionally. I don't want them to walk in and be neutral. I want them to feel something. So that starts with just a warm feeling, right? So warm lighting, nothing is cold, nothing is sterile. If you're doing white walls, it's like an alabaster or a dove where it's warm. You have warm colored lighting. You have tans uh, and beiges, and creams and natural colors and tones and woods and plaster, Venetian plaster, and all wood flooring, wide plank, wide oak flooring. Um, so those are things that just emit feelings in people. You do all the things that make people imagine their life in it. So you have a very high functioning mudroom with a bunch of storage and a lot of hooks. You have a walk-in pantry where you can like have a secondary kitchen. You might have a second dishwasher in there. You might have another stove in there. You might have sinks in there and double fridges in the secondary kitchen. In the master bedroom, you have like coffee bar. In the master bathroom, you have makeup vanities. You have his and her separate closets. You have toilets in a closet. Um, you have a freestanding tub dedicated for bathing. Typically, you want to have like a large window above it.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
A chandelier on top of it, things like that. You want to have dramatic pendant lights over your kitchen island. You want to have a massive kitchen island. You typically want the breakfast area. I always do breakfast areas. A lot of builders don't do breakfast areas because they're like, oh, well, no one ever eats there. But to me, I want to encourage people to have familial dinners. And I want people to stay connected. So you typically want to have like an L shape where you have your breakfast, breakfast, kitchen, living, those three communicating for entertaining, but just also lifestyle. And then covered patios, outdoor grills, large windows, tall ceilings. Those are kind of some of the elements I like to include that I feel get a reaction from people.
Yeah, it sounds like it's definitely designed based on how we live. It's very functional while also being beautiful.
And there's like, I like transitional. So like modern's cool, but I like classic elements. It's modern, but classic. Because
Yeah, well,
I feel like people feel more when it's traditional or transitional as opposed to modern. It's just like it's fun, but that's not really your life.
absolutely. Do you feel like there's any trends out there, like things that you see in a lot of new builds?
For sure. Like in kitchens, like slab backsplashes are very popular now. Plaster hoods are very popular. Black windows are very popular, but I think they're going to be going out soon.
Yeah.
Um,
Everything, everything cycles.
yeah, white exteriors are very trendy, but I think that there are other options that are more bold. Um, those are some things to jump in mind. Obviously, white oak, European oak, wide plank flooring is very popular, and that's been around or popular for I would say the last handful of years. I don't see that one transitioning out anytime soon. Oh, and then white oak cabinets. That is
Yes.
probably the most current chic shift.
Yeah, I see a lot of those. Well, I like what you were mentioning about, the lighting and the paint, because I think those are really easy fixes without spending a ton of money that can really transform a space.
For sure.
Is there anything else like that? Like just little tricks that you've gotten from flipping things that make a huge difference without breaking the bank?
Well, I think you have to break the bank.
Yeah, that's true. That's what you said.
You know, whether it's a project that I'm doing for my business or even personal like our own house, it's like you have to live there. So just do it. You're not going to be happy until it's the way you want it. And yeah, I've never done that's an overstatement. Of all my properties, I've done like two that I would say were like cosmetic renovations, but typically it's complete transformation. I don't keep anything. I completely gut the house. I reconfigure the floor plan. I do all new mechanical, plumbing, electrical, AC. All new sheetrock, baseboards, insulation, cabinets, counters, floors, windows, roof, everything. Everything is different. Everything's changed. Goes from your grandmother's house to, you know, your the hottest guy's house you've ever been to. I don't know what a good analogy would be, but um, yeah. So I don't. Yeah, but I guess if someone had a limited budget and they just wanted to make some changes, I would say paint is probably the most impactful low cost change,
Hmm.
and probably windows. Windows are like teeth.
Yeah.
Like if someone changes their teeth, if they have bad teeth, then that is probably the most dramatic change you can make beyond like fitness or hair or anything. I feel like teeth are so profound. I think windows have that same effect.
That's a really good analogy. I love that. And then in terms of, now you're in this real estate business that you love so much, how has this changed your life back when you were at your corporate job? How has this like afforded the life that, you love living?
Yeah, so I mean, it's something I want to stand on a mountaintop and scream, to everybody. Like it changed our entire life. Not only for me, but for my wife, for my kids, for my parents, um, for their, future children. I grew up very humble, modest upbringing. Didn't really have much. Never went on vacation. Never played sports. Never went to dinner. Never went to a restaurant. And I like just went to school, came home, and watched TV. That was my whole life, with pre-18. Now with real estate investing, I make my own schedule. We go wherever we want. We have all these things that, the world, covets, like, nice home, and we're, nice cars, all those things. But more importantly, we have freedom. My wife stays at home. Our kids are in a hybrid school where they only go to school 2 days a week. So they're with us most of the time. Um, you know, we're, you know, we're in the best location of Houston. There's just so many things that real estate investing has provided. Whenever someone has a need, a friend or a family member, I can, help with that. And I can sleep at night, not having to worry about day-to-day things that I used to have to worry about. I used to be paycheck to paycheck, until I was probably 30 years old. So it's not like my whole life has been like this. So I definitely appreciate the difference.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it sounds like you have just so much freedom in general. It's just a lot to do, a lot of freedom.
For sure.
Even though you're doing a lot, I mean, I don't know how you have time to do anything, but
Well, everyone says that, and I agree that sometimes it can be taxing, but I think you make time for things that are important to you.
right. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing something you love, it doesn't feel like an obligation or something you have to do.
For sure. I always tell people that, like, so how do I get started? I'm like, well, I mean, it's not a checklist. It's a commitment. Like
Right.
you decide you're gonna do something, you do it, and that's whatever it is. If you want to be a lawyer, if you want to run a marathon, whatever you decide, you commit to it, and then all the steps will figure themselves out because you decided you're going to do it.
The
I've told
commitment.
people, like, let's say you're driving home and there's a something blocking the road. What do? You go a different direction and then you find a way to get home. But let's just say you're just driving, like you have nowhere, you're not going anywhere, then you just stop or you turn around, like. But if you're going somewhere and you're committed to going there, then you're going to get there because you're going to figure it out.
Yeah, you have great analogies. Yeah, I mean, the commitment is definitely the hardest part for most people, I would say.
Tell my wife that she doesn't like analogies.
Sore subject, I'm so sorry.
I have a great wife, and she's a big part of the story. She's not really involved in the business, but she's involved in my life, and she encourages me. She supports me. She doesn't give me any grief. Early on, she used to be really worried when I would take out these big loans, but now we don't even talk about it. I just buy houses, and she doesn't even really go to the properties. Well, she for sure does not. I have to like occasionally bring her when I'm finished, like, hey, look at this house. You may as well see it before I sell it. So she allows me to have the life that I have. I can just get out and leave whenever I want, do whatever I want, and she's taking care of the kids in the house, and I would not be able to do what I've done without that support.
Yeah, it sounds like having such a good support system at home is so important.
Yep.
So, what's next for you in your business?
Well, as I mentioned, I just started doing new construction last year. I did one house. I sold it December 30th of last year. I did my second one at the beginning of this year, and now I have four. So, and each of those first two houses were $1.5 million exits. The ones I have now are all $2 to $3 million. So it's a different game. It's a different buyer. Obviously, it's going to be a different process to get the projects completed. So that's where I'm at now. And if I'm able to get through this new phase, then I feel like the sky's the limit.
Awesome. Well, that sounds great. It sounds like you have such exciting things ahead and you have the foundation really to get there.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what God's plan is.
Well, how can people find you?
I mean, I'm not really a public figure, but I do have Instagram pages for each of my businesses. Harper Harrison Homes is my flipping business, which is named after our first two children, Harper and Harrison. That's both on Instagram and Facebook. And then Holland Fine Homes is my new construction business, which is named after our third child, Holland. And those are both on Instagram and Facebook. And then obviously I'm Justin Davis. I'm on both those places. And I post only pictures of my houses at the end. So there's not really much day to day, but there's the end. And then on Facebook, I have a before and after of all my flip houses.
Nice. Awesome. Well, everybody, please go check that out. And thank you so much for being here, Justin. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And yes, we'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
Kristen, thanks for making time for me.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.